Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here with Artem from Lifestyle Board Games, looking at Red Outpost coming in 2020.
Yes.
Yes. You ran a Kickstarter for this?
Yeah, we did in December last year. We were quite happy with the results. The company we working with on this in the US is Imperial Publisher. It's a new company. It's actually the first board game that they're releasing under this new brand is our game. Mm-hmm. And well, I guess I'll just straight out of the way. I mean, for all you Kickstarter backers watching, well, first of all, thank you very much for supporting this project. And second of all, the copy of the game that I'm showing today, it is not fully representative of what you are going to get if you back this project on Kickstarter, because obviously there were stretch goals, some components will be improved and stuff like that. This is just a regular...
But we get an overview of the game and see how it works.
Of course.
Yes.
So, the story in this game is during the space race, the Soviet Union did not send people to the moon. They actually sent people to another planet.
Okay.
Turns out the planet is inhabitable, and not only were they able to reach that planet, they sort of crash landed there, and they were able to establish a colony.
Okay.
Important thing is that these guys, they don't know what's going on back on Earth. They know nothing about the fall of Soviet Union and the communism, basically losing the Cold War.
Build their own life here.
Yes, and they do it in the only way they know how, which is the communist way.
Okay.
So this translates into the gameplay in a sense that in this game almost everything is common.
Okay.
But everyone wins separately.
Okay.
So it's a sort of a worker placement game with a couple of interesting twists. Mm-hmm. And the workers here, I'm not sure if you can see them right here. Yeah. Every worker has like a custom shape, has a profession, you could say. These workers will be controlled at some point by any player, so they don't belong to any player in particular.
Right, it's a common work pool.
Yes.
Okay.
As well as the resources. When you go somewhere and produce a resource, it does not actually belong to you. It is put in the common warehouse, so to speak, but you can take advantage of that. And I'll show you a couple of interesting examples of gameplay, mid-gameplay examples, so to speak, and I'll run you through how the turn goes, more or less. So each turn, each game day, as we call it, consists of several phases, starting with the morning, proceeding to the daytime where you actually work hard. Then it's lunchtime when you can go to a field kitchen to have some lunch. Then it's the second half of the day where you work hard, and then there's evening, which again you can work in the evening, but there are some limitations, restrictions, etc.
Okay.
The whole game actually goes for just 2 of these game days.
Okay.
So the day starts in the barracks, of course. All the workers are asleep. They just got up in the morning. They're ready to go to work, and at this point, players start to basically send these workers to different locations to perform different tasks. For instance, I could send this coal miner to the coal mine. Mm-hmm. I'm laying him down to indicate that he's already been moved and he's exhausted for this phase. The coal miner is actually, as you probably guessed, he's professional, so he can get you 2 coal, which, as I mentioned, it's not your personal resource. You just place it in a common warehouse like this.
Right.
And so he's okay. He knows how to do this job. It's totally fine. Now, say I also need to put my influence token on the portrait of the coal miner, indicating the fact that I have sent him once to a location. It doesn't even matter to which location I sent him. I influenced him in a sort of way. Then, if, say, I take this farmer, or the next player actually would take a farmer, they could use an interesting trick. One of the ways you get victory points in this game is when you place a third resource of a kind to this common warehouse, you take advantage of the fact that you've gathered enough, and you place it on this track here, which is like they're storing resources, to be able to survive harsh times that are certain to come. And the first time you do that, you get 1 point, next time 2 points, next time 3 points. Now, there are only 2 of those, and maybe the next player would want to get advantage of that and get another one of these coal resources and win this point, essentially. They could try to go to the spaceship, for example, which is an interesting location. It's unlike all the production locations where you just produce resources. You actually go to this deck and you draw one card. And this might very well be a call. In this case, it's nothing, unfortunately, but as you can probably see, there are different kinds of resources on this deck here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you can take chance element here to get something?
Yeah, so if I was able to actually get a call here, like this, I would add a third resource of a kind here to the common warehouse. These would immediately go back to the pool, and this player would get 1 point for completing this set of resources. Now, here's the important part. You place the influence again on the farmer, which you just moved, and this spaceship, the crash-landed spaceship that they have here, it's kind of a very creepy place. They don't like being there. That's why her happiness drops by 1.
Okay.
Here's when we come to the happiness mechanic, which is one of the most interesting mechanics here. As you already seen, every time I move a worker, I place my influence on them. And some of the locations affect happiness. Some of them affect it in a negative way, some of them in a positive way.
Right.
Mostly the rule of thumb is if you send a worker to the location that is his home location per se, for Shepherd,
yeah, he's not going to have any
master,
unhappiness, but everyone else will.
Exactly. Get the point. And towards the end of the game day, the situation may look something like this. So some players move different characters different number of times. Their happiness levels will be different, of course. And so at the end of every game day, we actually check who has the majority of influence on this particular character, and we go one by one through all the characters. If that character is happy, you would score additional points for controlling this happy character. If the character is unhappy, then the player who has the majority may even lose some points.
Okay.
That's, of course, that's why you need to very carefully balance the production, because you have to keep the economy running. You have to produce resources. There's another way of getting the points that I didn't even mention. It's like a production wheel. That's every turn you go around the production wheel, you get some additional points and stuff like that. But you also have to be very careful about not upsetting these guys too much, because in the end, they basically decide if you're a good, efficient ruler and manager or not.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
With this whole influence system, there are some interesting locations which allow you to actually do some tricky stuff here as well. So, for instance, let's say there's a draw here, and basically the blue player and the yellow player are fighting to control this character who's happy and would bring them 3 points. There is a location that I can visit, which is this administration house, essentially. So if I go there, I'm actually allowed to switch the influence of my opponent from one character to another. So I can, for example, remove one of the influence from the miner, and now all of a sudden I have the majority here. Okay. The opposite is also true. If I see a very unhappy character, I can make this player control this unhappy character.
Right.
So there are many, tricky things and tactical moves like that, but it's all very well connected to the theme. So, for example, the example I like the most is the commissar. She basically works in this House of Soviets, which is like this futuristic, almost temple-like building dedicated to the leaders of the past. And so she works there. If any character goes to the Palace of Soviets to perform action there, and action there is separate, no matter where the commissar is, she becomes happier, because she knows that people are following the true communist way, right? On the other hand, for example, if you have to send if you want to send the commissar to the beer house, and the beer house is a very happy place where every character just gets 2 happiness immediately, which is huge. Instead, she becomes unhappy because she kind of sees that
She's wasting her time.
Yeah, they're wasting.
Others wasting your time. Okay.
Yeah,
So we got an overview of the placement.
Yep.
The happiness system leads to points.
Yes.
You're going to score points based on production.
Yep.
Right. If you produce more coal again, you're going to get more points and more as things go on. And then we wrap up after 2 days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And the last way to score points is the Palace of Soviets, which I was just beginning to mention. Every player actually has a gold, which, by the way, is basically the only thing that belongs to a specific player.
Okay.
So unlike resources, for example. You earn gold in different locations via different actions, but then you can spend gold as well on performing some actions, and you can also invest some gold into building of this Palace of Soviets. And at the end of the game, the player who has most of the gold invested in the Palace of Soviets will score additional points. Second place will score some points as well. Third place will score some points as well. And this is, I guess, the only long-term investment in the whole game. Usually you're trying to make the best out of the situation you're presented with,
Right.
but this is the part where you can go and invest long-term to make sure that you get some additional points at the end of the game. So, just a very, it's a clever game, exciting, not too complicated. Because the theme matches the mechanics so well, I think it becomes even easier to explain the rules and to teach people this game, because like something clicks in their heads immediately when they say, oh, I see why this character would lose happiness there, for example, because
Right.
it makes perfect sense. Right? So we are pretty much, regarding the English edition of this game, which we ran a Kickstarter for, we are right now on time and on target, so yeah, we're expecting it to be released, I think, second quarter 2020.
2020. All right. Thank you very much, Artem. Overview of Red Outpost from Lifestyle.